055, and you can catch us live across all the platforms. Hopefully you can text in and tell us a little bit about your experiences and some of the questions that I'll be asking you today, inshallah. So, Assalamu alaikum, Safira. How are you? My fellow co-host.
I know, it's funny being on this side of the desk this time.
Alhamdulillah. How are you doing?
I'm good.
How are you
Very
keeping?
hot, but
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah,
Alhamdulillah. So before we dig in, let me just introduce. So Safira is an amazing, alhamdulillah, really well-versed, collaborative calligraphy artist, geometry artist, mashallah. And she's been doing this for a little while. So we're going to dig into where's and how's and how she's got here. So tell us a little bit about firstly your brand and where people can find you.
So I am a predominantly geometry artist, and I also do calligraphy, both English and Arabic. So I kind of mix all of those together, and also do collaborations with those. My details, I'm at Safira Arts, that's my name, and you can find me on www.safiraarts.com.
Brilliant. Just come a little bit closer to your mic, please. And so kind of when did the journey kind of start for you?
I think most creative people end up saying that they've always been creative, even if they didn't pursue it all the way through their career. So for me in particular, I was quite creative when I was younger, and then it was kind of 50-50 whether to go down the academic route or whether to go to a more creative route. And then I decided to go academic. I studied English literature at university, and then I did journalism as a postgraduate. After I graduated, I worked as a journalist for quite a few years. So I worked in Cumbria for daily newspapers there. Then I moved to London, and I worked around London and Essex as a journalist. Then I went into politics, so something completely different. But I worked in communications for a local government. So that was my background and what I worked as. And then it was the creative side was always bubbling underneath the surface. So because I had such a serious job, and with the journalism especially, and the area that I was living and working in, on a daily basis, I was covering things like murders, shootings, stabbings. At that time, it was postcode wars. I mean, it's similar things now in London, but that's what I was covering on a daily basis.
Wow.
And it was quite hard hitting, and you're going to people's families and interviewing them. So, you're personally speaking to these people. So as a way of switching off from that, I would turn to art or creativity as just a way to switch off from work.
Yeah.
So that was always happening in the background. And then after I got married about 5 years ago, so I moved from London to Leicester. And because my job had been so serious, I just decided to just take a break as soon as I had moved to Leicester, and just take a beat before I went back into work. But that was probably the best thing I could have done, and it's helpful that I've got such a supportive husband. He was okay with supporting me doing that. I started learning Arabic and English calligraphy with teachers in Leicester.
Amazing.
And then I was fortunate to still be able to travel to London and learn the geometry, learn the Islamic art. So I was learning with the school Art of Islamic Pattern.
Mashallah, amazing.
So I did quite a few courses with them in a 10-week course. So we did geometry, we did biomorphs, and we did plaster carving. So I brought a couple of those examples here with me so that I can show you those kinds of things. So that's the kind of thing that I did from that course.
That is stunning, mashallah. So amazing.
As part of the plaster carving course. So we would learn all the geometry and then also do these as finished pieces.
That.
So this one's an 8-pointed star.
Mashallah.
So this was as part of that course. And then straight after that, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, had to take a break, as many other people did, because that's when the pandemic happened. Everything closed down, so I couldn't physically go for those classes. But because everything went online, I took advantage, and I was doing as many classes in both calligraphy and geometry as I could. So a lot of those schools were based around the world. So just learned as much as I could, and that's kind of set me up for what I'm doing now.
Mashallah. I mean, there's so much more I know, but in a snapshot, just that I want to touch on, because every artist that we've had, or a collaborator who's supporting people to do traditional art, or art, should we say, or be an artiste, has all come from a story of where what they were doing at the time wasn't no longer serving them. And there was something, we have an innate fitra, isn't it, that when our soul isn't being nurtured or our environment isn't right, it hits deep, and it can be really detrimental if we don't recognize when we need to change it, and we need to honor and give ourselves permission to take that path. So let's just go a little bit back. How was that journey for you to make that transition? And mashallah, you said you've got a really supportive husband, which is so important, because I think in our community, art, creativity, and I think a lot of guests that we've had have all kind of said where it's not seen as a passion, a career. It's not seen as the thing to do. It's seen as a hobby, a weekend thing. You know, it's not something that you can say is a career. So how was that for you, moving from being in London, moving up and down the country, and then coming to, how was that transition for you in your own mental health, your spirituality, your day to day? How was that transition for you?
I think I went into it at a time when I needed it, especially with the pandemic, and especially just before, because I had moved to Leicester, and I needed a break from the seriousness of the job I had previously done. But I think during the pandemic in particular, we were all trying to look for something. If you weren't working full time and had other commitments, you were also looking for things to do on the side. And I think arts and crafts and a lot of hobbies kind of came to the forefront. And, you know, we were fortunate to be able to do as much as we could do during that time, because people made that more available online. And I think that was so helpful, especially with what was going on in the world, that we could turn to that as a way of looking after our mental health, but also nurturing ourselves and learning. So I think it was helpful, especially at that time, and just continued with it now.
Mashallah, amazing. So how is it being an artist, does what you do, alhamdulillah? What would you say are the kind of obstacles or the challenges either you found from our community, kind of working with the non-Muslim community as well? Because mashallah, if people go to your website, they will see the collaborations that you've had and some of the other stuff that you've got coming up later on in the year. How was that for you to kind of work with the non-Muslim community and then kind of transitioning to now to do some of the work that you're doing now?
I think sometimes it's hard to get your head around that being an artist, or certainly working in this field, is a full-time job. So getting people to understand this is what I do full-time, and understanding that art and working in the arts is a career, because people tend to think that, you know, your traditional jobs, and certainly from my family as well, you know, my sister's an accountant, you know, my other sister's a lawyer, you know, you've got traditional fields that you tend to go into. And I did follow, you know, a more academic route, but came back to this because I realized that is really what I want to work in. So it's understanding that it is a career that you can follow. But in terms of interacting with people from different communities, I found that people are really receptive to it. And certainly because I teach workshops as well, I have a real mix of people. So Muslim and non-Muslim, people who want to explore their arts from their own background, their religion, their culture, but people who have come to it completely new as well. So those two, I don't think it really affects the people who are getting involved and how they get involved.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think that's really important because I'm a firm believer that when we put something together and we put a workshop together, whether it's a one-off, whether it's a kind of like a starter workshop to kind of just understand, like an introduction, people will come when they see is what they need. And I think as artists and being a fellow creative as well, we hold space for anybody.
Yeah.
Right. And we give them permission, and we hold that space, and we try and create it with the best of our intentions and our ability.
Yeah.
That they have an outcome, they feel safe and secure, and the other day we're facilitating them. But from a creative perspective, for us, yes, we have outcomes, but people bring their own energy and bring what they need. And I believe, we're true believers that when people will come to something, it's because they need that at that time, just like as when we were seeking and we try out different things and etc. etc. So I think that's really beautiful, mashallah. Okay, so then talk to us a little bit about kind of the recent project, because we were both involved 2 years ago in the In Praise project with Shazia as well, alhamdulillah, which is she's now Parables of Light, mashallah. So that's how we came across each other first time. And then now recently we've been involved with the Illuminate project as well. Yes. So just tell us a little bit about some of your experiences, kind of what came out for you, and some of your own feedback. It'll be really good to hear from anybody that came to any of your workshops. So the text number is 07748855055 if you've got any feedback. If you joined in any of your workshops, it'd be really good to hear whether they were independent workshops or part of any of the projects that you've been collaborating with as well.
Yeah. No.
So tell us a little bit, a synopsis of how that kind of went for you.
So I've told a little bit about my story and how I got into the arts and what I'm doing now. And I met Shazia when I first moved to Leicester, and we were both doing Arabic calligraphy with the same teacher. So that's how we initially met. And she's just been fantastic that when she was setting up the project In Praise, she asked me to be part of that, to submit work as part of it, but also encouraged me to be one of the workshop tutors. And I hadn't taught before, so that was a new thing for me, but I'm so glad that she did encourage me, because that led me on the path of teaching and doing other workshops independently as well. So that initial one, I did 2 geometry workshops, and they were just fantastic because people were really engaged and part of that project. They wanted to learn all the different types of Islamic art, so that was fantastic to be part of. And then leading on from that, Shazia's other project, Parables of Light, and the Illuminate project that she's been working on more recently, that we've been involved in again. So I facilitated some geometry workshops as part of that. And we did some geometry drawing, and we did a collaborative piece that I haven't brought with me this time, but that will be as part of Shazia's exhibition at the end of August. She'll be able to share more details about that on her Instagram page, Parables of Light. So if anyone's interested in that, please do give her a follow.
Yeah.
So you can see our collaborative pieces. So we've done one big geometry piece, and then all the individuals put together their own piece, individual pieces. So we'll have a 3D installation with lights running through it. So that's an individual piece that they've worked on as well.
MashaAllah. There's been some really amazing pieces that have come out from the Illuminate. I can't wait for the exhibition, which is in late August, which is the last weekend, inshallah. Okay, so tell us a little bit about some of the, what of your kind of recent workshops you've done and things that you've been involved with, or what you've got coming up in the next couple of months.
So recently I've done workshops as part of those projects. I also do some individual workshops off my own back. So those are more independent, and I do those based in Leicester, Derby, mainly Birmingham, and I've done some in London as well. So I travel around quite a bit for those particular workshops. Coming up, I'm concentrating more on some exhibition pieces. So I'm working on my own art, which is quite difficult to do when you're doing workshops. So I've tried to dedicate some time this year to just focus on my own art, my own practice, and working on doing those pieces. So more recently, and we can talk about this in more detail, this weekend, we've got an exhibition coming up for Takhleeq, Leicester. So those pieces have just been submitted. I dropped that one off yesterday, and that exhibition is going to be this weekend coming. So that's my most upcoming exhibition that's coming up. And then next month is the one with Shazia that we've just spoken about. So I've got a piece that's going to be going into the exhibition, the Illuminate one, at the end of August. And then during September, I've got some two smaller pieces that are going to be exhibiting in Birmingham. And that's part of the 112 gallery based at Cassart in Birmingham. And that's throughout September, but I'll be sharing details of that one closer to the time. So those are the three most upcoming ones. And then I'm working on my own individual pieces, possibly for some group exhibitions coming up next year. Yeah. So that one I'm still setting up. But
amazing, mashallah. And I think it's really important that when we don't dedicate the time and allow ourselves and give ourselves permission and actually call ourselves an artist, the fruits will show, right? Yeah. Because it takes a lot of dedication, it takes a lot of support from your networks, it takes obviously financial and resources, but it takes the mental and spiritual space as well, and obviously physical space. So having studios, having an open space where you can do your work without any distractions and really focus on your niche and master it. Because we're all on a journey, we're always constantly learning, right? So let me just ask you, so when did you honestly take it back and say, okay, I'm actually an artist? Like, when did because we all have it.
Yeah.
Every artist I've spoken to, whether they've just started or even 10 years down the line, we all have the imposter syndrome for many reasons. There's not just one reason. So when is it that you actually said, okay, I'm actually an artist?
You know what? I've probably been doing this for about 5 years now, and it's still hard to call myself an artist, but it was probably this year that I felt a little bit more like I was an artist, just because I had tried all the different things I wanted to try, and I knew this is what I want to focus on. And then artists will always get this when you have to write your own biography.
Oh, yes.
And it's like you have to write your achievements, but you also have to acknowledge I am an artist, because you're saying it and you're putting it out into the world. So it's writing down your achievements, and then you realize, okay, I have done quite a little bit that I can put forward as my biography, but it's still acknowledging I am an artist and this is what I do.
That's amazing. And I think it's really important because, look, we do it for careers, right? We do it for jobs. When we're applying for jobs, we all have a CV, we all have a social media platform maybe, or we have a LinkedIn, or we have maybe an internal system if we're part of an organization, right? But when you're writing your own biography, for example, when you're doing a collaboration, there's like, oh, just ping over your biography. And you're like, you have to actually think and look through your work and realize what have you done, who have you collaborated with, what were the outcomes, and like you say, the achievements. And until you're really in that journey, like 10 years on, then you just look back and think, wow, have I actually done all that? Which is amazing. It's really amazing when I hear artists say, oh, I can't believe I've done that. That's why it's so important to document our work. Keep our own records and keep our own portfolio as well. So we get reminded of as to our purpose and why we're here.
Just you saying that about the portfolio as well, and just reminding yourself, and also one thing is writing your biography. The other thing was when I had to work on my website, and I did update it this year. So I had to put on there my portfolio and examples of my work, just an overview of who I was and what I had done. But then also my brand collaborations, just to show, this is who I've worked for. Just to record it for myself, but also, that is like a window to anyone who wants to work with me, that is what I've previously done. So it's amazing. Acknowledging it.
It's amazing. So that then leads me on to, so in terms of the collaborations, because you have worked with some big brands, mashallah, what was your, I know it's going to be hard to pick one or maybe two, what were the kind of highlights of some of the branding that you've done? So those collaborations.
I've worked with so many, just because I do the calligraphy as well, and I do engraving. So that's another part of what I do. So I do a lot of English and Arabic calligraphy and engraving, so I go in stores and do that also. I think my first collaboration was with Dior, and I kind of, like you said, imposter syndrome. It's like, am I good enough to do this? Can I do this? And it was a case of just engraving everything that I had in the house and just practicing as much as I could before I did that. And I'm fortunate enough that I've done that for about 2 years now, 2 seasons. So it's usually the busy times, Eid, Christmas time, the festive period. But yeah, I'm quite fortunate that they've asked me to come for Eid as well, and to engrave things. So that was my first one. And yeah, just happy that I'm still able to do that one. The most recent one was with Silverstone. And I'd grown up watching that with my dad.
Yeah.
So that was, from a personal point of view, it's something I'd always watched. So when I was asked to go there and to represent and do Arabic calligraphy, that was quite a personal highlight for me, that they wanted someone who wanted to do that. So that was as part of Bahrain Grand Prix. They were there promoting what they do at Silverstone. And I was part of the features that they were doing to promote that. So I went last year, I went again this year, so I've just finished that one this month. And yeah, it was 3 days during the Silverstone weekend, writing people's names in Arabic, and it was just lovely seeing people's reactions. So most people aren't from an Arabic speaking background. So for them, they loved seeing the process of writing, but just seeing their name written. So yeah, that was a fun one to do.
Awesome. And I think, so what would you say then to artists who are starting out maybe and who want to collaborate and maybe want to approach these brands? What advice would you give them? What would you think?
I would say practice as much as you can, because they're going to want to see examples of your work.
Yeah.
So practice to a level that you know that you can do it without thinking. So whether you're drawing, whether you're writing, whatever you're doing, you need to practice it. But also bear in mind, in these environments, you're often talking to clients as you're doing it. Yeah. So you need to be confident in writing or whatever it is you're planning on doing, but multitasking, speaking to people, and you don't mind people watching what you're doing as well.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, you are half entertaining, half doing the job as well. So you need to be confident doing that. Just build up your portfolio and then contact the people, make the contacts where you can. It's usually through social media, or, you know, get the contacts and send your details through. And just build up your work that way.
Yeah. And what would you say, because I'm sure when you've started your journey in the years that you've been doing this now, is you've had knockbacks, right? So it's not no. I always say a rejection is not a no. It's just not right now. Yeah, that's my philosophy. Because the time's not right for whether it's for you. Because at the end of the day, we believe Allah plans and the doors open when the time's right. When we're able to facilitate and take care of the responsibilities and the things we're given to curate and take care of. So, what would you say is when people do get those kind of no's? What mindset and kind of what do they need to take from it?
I wouldn't take it to heart. So it may not be about your particular work. It just may be that it wasn't right at that moment. And people often keep your details on file. So it's not a case of, no, don't do it at all. Yeah. It may be they don't want it right now, or maybe come back to them at another time, maybe approach someone else who is doing that. Just try another avenue, but don't take no as you shouldn't be doing it. Yeah. It's just look at it constructively and see another way into that.
Yeah. And I would say, look, speak to other artists. Like we have which leads me on to, we have a Takhleeq Facebook group, we have a Instagram page, and if there's support you need, we've got fellow artists and the group is growing, mashallah. And so, there's different creatives in the group where there's such a vast amount. It's unbelievable, alhamdulillah. So reach out, out, join the WhatsApp group or through Instagram or through Facebook, just connect. And if you need support in a particular way, or just a sounding board as well. I think there's so many things that I've done over the last couple of years, and there's there's different people with different who are different creatives. Like I'm a poet, I'm a writer, but I won't always go to a poet. I will ask other people, what do you go to?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think is the need? What do you think our community need? What do you think's missing? What do you think will be a better collaboration, or what do you think is out there? So maybe speak to different artists, and they can give you their view, but also speak to the artists within that field, and they can kind of show you, is because we have social media, and alhamdulillah, that's the whole point of Takhleeq Leicester, is creating that base for us to communicate and collaborate and bring people together of different backgrounds and different skills, like amazing skills. Alhamdulillah.
And like you just mentioned, the group Takhleeq, everyone is so friendly, and they're so willing to share what they do and how they got to where they are now. So just reach out and just ask them, and hopefully someone can help you with any pointers that you need.
Inshallah. That's amazing. Okay, so you've been involved, like you've just handed in your own pieces of work and for the exhibition this weekend, which is super exciting. So those of you that would have been listening to our last few shows and following our socials, you would have known that we had an open call for creative pieces, which was for Ya Ilahi, which is oh my God. And there were submissions which had to be within a particular framework. We had some really amazing, I haven't seen all the pieces, but I've seen some of them. We had over 20 pieces for the exhibition, right? So just tell us kind of a little bit what's been going on with that, and and the feedback, or just the experience that we've had so far as a group to put this together.
So I was there last night when people were bringing their submissions, and it was just so interesting because I could see them all, and I know we'll see them Friday when they're put up. So they brought them, and it was such a good range of different pieces of work.
Amazing.
Artists who are just starting out to professional artists and everything in between. We had some quite small pieces. We had some very big pieces, canvases. We've got some embroidery work. We've got some pieces on paper, framed pieces. We've even got some wood laser engravings. So
amazing.
Absolutely fantastic, different types of work, all different types. Lots using geometry. There's some Arabic calligraphy in there. Some different types of painting techniques as well. So a good range of different things.
Mashallah.
To see.
And I think because we only had the theme, right? And it had to, as long as it wasn't more than a 1 meter, frame or something that needed to be mounted, it was kind of free for people to do.
Yeah.
And I think I've been really impressed the amount we've had, and this was the first one that we've done, so we just wanted to see what the people of Leicester would bring, and I'm so excited to see the exhibition on Friday night. Alhamdulillah. So that's the private viewing, so that's for people who've either been involved or they may have been invited, but if you want to come, just drop us a message. Inshallah, it is from 7:30 till 9 o'clock. And that's when all the artists who've been part of the exhibition will be there as well, so with their friends and their family. So it's really something, it's a movement that's happening in Leicester, and it's something that is I think inshallah going to grow even more. So then we've got workshops over the weekend as well. So Saturday and Sunday we've got 4 workshops, two workshops on each day. So it's Saturday, it's myself, which I've still got a few spots. I've opened up some more spaces for Saturday. So mine is By the Pen, which is poetry workshop, working through Sufi and mystical poetry and using sacred texts. The workshops are only 90 minutes. They're literally introductions. But if you work with me, 90 minutes is enough to go deep and have some transformational changes within you. That's the whole intention around it. So please do sign up. All the workshops, though, we are charging £10, but it will be refundable soon as the event is over through Eventbrite. So then it's myself on Saturday, which is from 11:30 to 1. So please go to the Instagram of Takhleeq. And then after me at 2 till 3:30, I think 4 is Shazia's after me.
Okay.
And then I think it's you and
no, it's Tazim has got her.
Oh, Tazim is hers on
also
Sunday.
For those.
So for those is with children,
ones.
hers is sold out on Sunday afternoon. And then so we've literally got a couple of spaces left. So please do go to our Takhleeq Instagram page and our Facebook page, and they are as events there as well. In regards to, so we've got a couple of things coming up. So in August, we will have the Takhleeq. We will have a workshop. So every month we've been meeting up. We try and meet up every 6 weeks to try and formalize the group and bring in skills. So of how you want to get involved, how you can get involved, what you've got to bring to the table, what you'd like to bring to the table, what you'd like to grow, what skills you might not have right now, but how you want to be involved. So I believe we've got it in August. The date hasn't been confirmed yet, but an Eventbrite link will be created after this weekend, inshallah. But I would say is, get involved. So even though you might not think you're an artist, we still need people behind the scenes, people. We need people behind the scenes. We need special skills. So even though you may not be from a Muslim background, we still need support in terms of philanthropy, collaboration, in terms of supporting, putting portfolios together, studio space, you name it, you know, because it's a community-driven project. So if there's any skills you can bring, also we need young people, we need the TikTokers, we need the Instagrammers. So we are going to be formalizing a like subgroups of different areas as we formalize as a working group. But ultimately it's very organic. It's not one person driving what the project is, because it's a long term, it's here to stay. It's inshallah going to be continue beyond ourselves that we've created part of the working group. And the idea is obviously is to bring change and ultimately bring everyone to experience Islamic traditional heritage heart, which is part of our deen, and it's it's amazing. SubhanAllah, it's a whole world which we need to revive again. So what other kind of things? What other things do you think we need within the Takhleeq group, or the kind of some of the things that we've been talking about?
I think people are a little bit hesitant because they're like, I'm not a professional artist, but that's not necessarily what we're about. We're looking for people who are either creative or they're interested in being creative. So, if you're a little bit unsure of whether this group applies to you, then just get in touch either with the group itself or one of the artists or creatives and just find out what we're about. I would definitely encourage you to come along to our exhibition this coming weekend if you're able to. If you're just a bit unsure or just want to know what we're about, come along to that. So that's both Saturday and Sunday. I think the timings are 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. on both days.
And it's at Studio Nami, which is on 2 Broughton Street in St Matthews. If you go to either the Instagram or even just go into maps, it will take you there. There's usually parking around there as well, but do come. We look forward to meeting the people of Leicester and maybe further afield. Really exciting. To be just to hear some of the work that's coming and the work. I know personally people who may have not actually ever submitted something. And they've really gone out of their comfort zone. I think it's an amazing feat, and I think everyone should be so proud. We're going to have winners on the night, so we've got first, second and third prize, but I think even outside of that, just the fact that people have taken the steps, as challenging as it may have been for them, I think they should be really proud. And that's what it's about. It's about creating this movement within our community, and hopefully further.
And especially when I went last night, I could see a lot of the people. Some people were a little bit hesitant because they haven't exhibited before, but then they could see that they were in a space where other people, were really supportive, and they were showing their work sometimes for the first time, and just having that little bit of support and encouragement was really good for them. So, really looking forward to seeing all the work on the walls and seeing how it's all going to be set up. Adam from the group is going to be setting everything up tonight.
Mashallah, the final bits, getting it all up.
Behind the scenes stuff is happening.
So you might be somebody who knows how to, what tools to use, what bits you need. I have not got a clue because I'm a writer, I'm a poet. I don't put art up. I've never had to. But even if you've got those kind of skills and you're a labourer, for example, you're a DIY person, there's something you can get involved in, get in touch with us, let us know. Because look, we need skills, and with this movement it's collaboration. We all bring different things to the table, and for some people they have the intention, but the time might not be right. But still, you know, and the whole idea is that this is the first of many projects. Once we're in a position where we have more collaboration and more spaces, like we need the people of Leicester to come forward. So it's really exciting times, which then brings me on to, so we've got obviously the exhibition this weekend, we've got the private viewing on Friday, we've got our own workshops which are happening through Saturday and Sunday, so please do come. And then I've got a few kind of announcements. So Parables of Light, Shazia Osman, mashallah, she's running a monthly hub session. So if you go to her Instagram page, and also if you go to the Takhleeq website page as well, she's running monthly sessions with different mediums of art, which is amazing. And she's doing some really amazing other collaborations too. Actually, a lot of the artists within our group they're all working on their own individual projects as well, which is amazing to see. I've got a monthly open mic night, which I started in COVID, but then I've just restarted it again a few weeks ago. So I've got another open mic night the last Friday, which I've forgotten the date. And that will be, the idea is if you've got a place, a coffee shop or a business, we can try and support you. The idea is for it to be a informal but open mic night for sisters only. It's open to non-Muslim women too. The idea is creating the safe spaces, but accessibility, but also the idea is I want them in different parts of the city, so I don't want to keep it in one place. Last one we had on Uppingham Road, which was Casablanca, which is amazing. Thank you to Sana for her support. And the idea is to move the open mic nights around to different areas. So it'd be Wixton, a little bit further, but the idea is to collaborate with businesses who can support the business as well. So please do get in touch with me personally, which my page is Amrin She Speaks, and also other poets and writers who want to collaborate and get involved either with Takhleeq or even personally with myself. Please do reach out. There's quite a lot of things happening. Just stay on our socials.
We're always sharing them. Just follow us.
And also, look, if you've got an idea and you're not quite sure how to go about it, I think it's really important, because we're all professionals and got skills in different ways. But when people come together, it's amazing. Like how have Takhleeq come together? We were all creatives in our own right, and we all want to bring something, and we want things to change, and ultimately we all want to leave a legacy, education, knowledge, ultimately getting closer to Allah and understanding our tradition as well. So I think it's really important. Any other shares you'd like to have before we end the show? Anything you'd like to part advice for our fellow people listening?
I would just say, if you would like to try something and you're just a little bit unsure, just try and look for some classes to do with that. I mean, nearly everything I've learned is through doing classes, and then just practicing myself. So, just reach out to someone who's doing something similar to what you're doing, and just maybe ask whether they're running any classes. So I often get messages from people, are you running any workshops? So I just let them know about what I'm doing. And if I'm not, then I'll just point them in any direction of people who might be doing something locally to them. So definitely have a look at what other people are doing. I think it's really important. And I think, look, we're in a time where, there's the idea is that sometimes things are really easy and accessible, but I'm a true believer that sometimes, it's about the journey, it's not about the outcome. Maulana Rumi, and anyone that knows me knows I'm a massive Maulana Rumi fan. It's not about the outcome always. It's about the journey that we take. And as is insan, we have a natural disposition to seek knowledge and to learn. And our path is already written. We know that. So we should never dismiss the path that we are sometimes taken on. But just sometimes we have to trust the process and not worry about the outcome. Don't worry about the perfectionism. Don't worry about the imposter syndrome. Don't worry about what people are going to say. Don't worry about, is this really a career for me? Especially some of our even our younger and older, to be honest, because we've had some really interest from the older generation, which is beautiful to see, because they've not ever been given a space to come and show their work or say, you know what, I like, am I open minded? I had an auntie, and I call her an auntie because I see her as a queen, because she has such wisdom,
and she was reading poetry in Urdu, stuff she'd written herself, and she'd actually written in Urdu. And I mean, I can barely read Urdu, and it was just amazing. And that was just so humbling and wholesome to have somebody who's elder, who's really seen life through her eyes, but telling her story.
Yeah.
And I think it's so impactful. And ultimately, everyone who shared the poetry on that night, it all came back to Allah. Literally, it came back to coming home.
Yeah.
Whether it was that I had a French speaker, I had an Algerian speaker, I had a Spanish speaker, I had a Malay speaker. We had different languages, and it was just beautiful to see.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of holding these spaces is curating our tradition, firstly, creating our spiritual and mental space, but also an outlet for sisters to come together. And I think it was just beautiful. But what I'm saying is when we come together, it's amazing what beautiful things come.
Yeah.
So I would say it was always plant the seed.
Yeah.
Know that Allah is going to plant whatever is good for you anyway. Don't worry about the outcome, and just do your best.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about perfectionism. It's not about getting in the lines. It's not about having a couple of rough drafts of poetry that you think you can't perform. Just do it.
Yeah. And I don't know how we're doing for time.
Yeah, we've got a couple of minutes.
Okay. And I would just say, just keep learning as much as you can, even though I can read the patterns, I can draw the patterns, but I'm still learning. So I'm still doing particular classes. This is in woodwork.
Bring it a bit this way.
So I'm still
Amazing.
learning as much as I can. So that's woodwork pieces that I've done. And then again,
wow.
this piece
Subhanallah.
is from a study trip I did in Fez in Morocco. So the same patterns, but learning them to put them as a mosaic zellige piece. So you're always learning and just trying different things, even if it's not what you do.
Yeah, what you normally do.
Yeah.
Which then, let's close off then. So I think it's really important. Look, it's summer holidays. Most likely a lot of people go traveling.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't have to go abroad to look at art and architecture and design. It's so important to be present, to see what's going on around you. Really take time, right?
Yeah.
Because we have so much. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created so much beauty, but how often do we give it the time?
Yeah. Yeah. Just take time to just take it in, do the artwork, but also it's quite mindful doing it sometimes, drawing it and painting it.
Yeah. But also if you're anywhere, whether it's in the UK or abroad, you see workshops, you see a clay house, you see a basket weaving place. I don't know. I mean, when I went traveling, there's so many things I learned to do basket weaving. I'd never done it in my life. You know, I did when I went to India the first time. I went to a marble factory where they were actually making the pieces that were part of the Taj Mahal, you know.
Oh, wow.
And I will never forget that, right? It's only after I realized the history,
Yeah.
you know, and then I've gone multiple times to visit it. But what I'm saying is within our heritage, we have so much wealth.
Yeah.
We literally don't need to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
But when you're traveling, look what's going on. Look up the ceilings. Look outside. Look on the pavings. Look at signs. You know, there's just amazing things that we miss, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's just so beautiful. Alhamdulillah. Any other shares you think you've got, or ideas you think you'd like to? How do people get in touch with you? Just give us your details finally before we end off.
I've given my website, so that's www.safiraarts.com. My Instagram is @SafiraArts, and the same for Facebook as well.
Yeah.
So you can find all my information on there, and my calligraphy is on there as well.
Yeah. So if you'd like to collaborate with anyone, just remember, reach out to people. If you want to join things, always check on Eventbrite, always check on social medias, and just put in search, and it's amazing what things will come up for you. And look, at the end of the day, whatever you're seeking, you're going to get it, because Allah will place things for you. And always just be mindful, be present. Remember, it's about you and what you need for your own mental health and your space. But yeah, it's been real honor to have you, because we've never been able to actually properly talk about what we do and what you do. So thank you so much, Jazakallah khair, for joining me in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Take care. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
I've been waiting, I've been hurting, 'cause I've been falling